You're listening to Legends May Live. I'm Drew, and today we're heading to rural Kentucky, to a quiet farm, a terrified family, and a standoff that would forever live in infamy. A brief note before we get started. All of our episodes are based on true or allegedly true stories. Some gaps may be filled in, or there may be conflicting sources, so just take it as a fun experience and not a documentary. Just after 7 p.m. on August 21st, 1955, at a farmhouse on the edge of Kelly, Kentucky, a family is settling in for the night. The home is filled with laughter, music, and family just enjoying one another's company. Then one of them notices something strange drifting in the distance outside. Right away, he rushed to tell the others, but what followed would become one of the most famous and most ridiculed encounters in American history. On Sunday, August 21st, 1955, in the small town of Kelly, Kentucky, just north of Hopkinsville, the sun was setting, the heat still hung heavy in the air, and the Sutton family farmhouse was full. Normally, it was just Gleanie Langford and her youngest three children, Lonnie, Charlton, and Mary, in the home. Gleanie was a widow, and she was just trying to do her best to take care of the farm and her preteen children, but today was one of the rare moments of excitement. She was enjoying the company of her oldest sons, Elmer, who they called Lucky, J.C. with their wives as well as family, friends, Billy Ray Taylor and his wife June, and O.P. Baker. It had been a long and fun day of catching up, swapping stories, and just having fun. It felt like for the first time in a long time, the moment the stresses of life just melted away. As daylight began to fade, the family made their way back inside to wind down, relax, and prepare dinner. And for a while, it was just the soft hum of the radio, a few of the kids playing cards, and just laughter filling the air. It's what seemed like the perfect night in rural America. Then around 7 o'clock, dinner's ready, and Gleanie was setting the table. Billy Ray steps outside to the well to fetch water to fill everyone's glasses, and as he steps outside, he just notices the sun is a sliver now, and the sky is that deep orange that only lasts for a few minutes before the stars creep in. He stopped for just a moment to admire the view. Then he hoisted his bucket back up and turned around to walk toward the house. But as he's walking, he notices something just to his side, just over the tree line. It's this strange flash of either light or maybe something metal reflecting the last hint of sunlight. As Billy looks around to see what it is that's caught his attention, this enormous structure is just hovering in the sky, gliding silently. It looks to be around 40 feet long and made of polished metal. Billy Ray stares in disbelief. He had seen airplanes before, but this was nothing like any airplane he'd ever seen. And he had heard of blimps, and this was similar to that description, but blimps weren't made of metal from what he understood, and this was far too disc-shaped. He looks on in awe, just trying to wrap his head around this, and it continues to glide through the air until finally it stops over a field and hovers for just a moment before it starts to descend. And at this point, panic strikes Billy Ray, and he runs inside, bursting through the door. Breathless and wide-eyed, he's just shouting that he saw some kind of ship land behind their house. Everyone thinks he's just making some kind of weird joke, and they just laugh and roll their eyes. Billy Ray worked with a traveling carnival as a general laborer, so they tell him that performance work isn't for him, and that he just needs to lay off the tall tales and sit down to dinner before it starts to get cold. And he's just about to respond to that when the dog just starts going crazy. It's frantic, scratching at the door, growling, barking. I mean, something really had this dog worked up, and nothing anyone could do could calm it down. So they took the dog to the other room and just sat down to try to enjoy their meal. And everyone was a bit weary now, but they still tried to laugh and joke around. But as the barking continues, everyone is just kind of quiet, and they're looking at each other like, is there really something out there? But no one really wants to go outside and look, because if they do, then it becomes real, and they're buying into this whole ship landing thing. And Billy Ray isn't about to go out there because, one, he's seen the ship and he was terrified, and two, he had already been laughed at. if he saw something else, no one was going to believe him anyway. And then eventually, about an hour or so later, they kind of tuned out the dog and things were starting to get back to normal. Everyone was just having a good time again and starting to put away the dishes. But then there's this sort of thud and what sounds like footsteps running out back. Lucky and Billy Ray grab a .22 rifle and a 12-gauge shotgun, and they step out onto the porch to see what's out there. Being in the farm, it's not unlikely to see a coyote or some sort of predator like that, so that's what they're thinking at this point. And they pan around, and at first they don't see anything, but when they're about to go back inside, both of them look directly at what was making the noise. And they see it. Not the craft, not a light, but a creature. It was this silver-colored, distorted, human-looking thing. It was standing somewhere around 3 feet tall, and its arms were disproportionate to its body. They were so long that they nearly touched the ground, and it also had these strange, oversized ears and a rounded head. It also had eyes that appeared to glow. They were yellow and unblinking. The thing waddles forward, its arms raised almost like it's surrendering or possibly welcoming them. In a lot of ways, it looked like the way chimps or orangutan move when they walk on 2 legs. But Lucky just raises the shotgun, aims without hesitation, and he shoots. The creature flips backwards, and it's not like it's injured, though. It's more like it's being pulled by something. Either way, it quickly vanished into the dark of the tree line. And the gunshot echoes through the Kentucky night, but then silence. No screams or wails, and it really didn't seem like there was much of any kind of movement. Just the heavy breathing of the 2 men who aren't quite sure what they just saw. Billy Ray and Lucky stare into the woods, and they're just waiting for something, anything to happen, as they can almost hear their own heavy heartbeats. And then suddenly, another figure appears from the shadows, but this time from the other side of the house. It's about the same size as the last one, with the same strange glowing eyes watching them. This time they both raise their weapons and fire again. This one seems to leap, or almost bounce off the ground before disappearing behind the trees. Its movement is so odd and unnatural. The men turn to run back inside, partially stumbling over themselves at this point. They lock the door behind them and yell for everyone to get away from the windows. The first few minutes inside the farmhouse, panic continues to build as Lucky and Billy Ray try to explain what they just saw. At this point, the children are crying, the women are trying to calm them down, Lucky's mother grabs a Bible, but then a claw-like hand reaches down from the roof and rips against the front screen door. Lucky spins around and shoots through the ceiling where the hand had led to, hoping to hit center mass. But before the debris hits the floor, another figure pops up, peering through the window, glowing eyes just staring inside like twin flashlights. Billy Ray aims and fires right for its face. Glass shatters and the creature vanishes in the crash. But as one leaves, more appear. It's this vicious cycle of more gunshots and more creatures. This nightmarish game seemed to be one that would never end. And now every time they hit one, it doesn't fall. It just sort of floats backwards like it's weightless. Like it almost doesn't care at all. But one thing was for sure. These weren't forest animals. They weren't burglars. They weren't anything that belonged out there. This siege goes on for hours. Shadows dart past the windows, footsteps running across the roof. A strange glow flickers in the distance. The same field where Billy Ray saw the craft land. And all the while, the creatures just keep coming. Always at the edge of the dark. Never attacking, just watching, surrounding the house. With every shot and every reload, the family's ability to keep fighting dwindles, and their time is running out. Until finally, around 11 o'clock, exhausted, terrified, and desperate, they decide to make a run for it. Billy Ray and Lucky provide cover fire as they lead the family out. Everyone rushes to the driveway, and they load into 2 cars as quickly as they can. As soon as the engines start, they tear down the road toward Hopkinsville, tires kicking up dust and gravel, just praying that whatever those things are don't follow. When they reach the police station, they're hysterical. All 11 of them, young and old, telling the same story with trembling voices and white knuckles. And to their surprise, the police take it seriously. They send officers, state troopers, even military police from Fort Campbell, a total of 20 armed responders. By the time police arrive at the Sutton farmhouse, it's just after midnight. Flashlights sweep across the yard. Officers search the roof, they check windows, walk the tree line. There's no signs of the strange creatures, but it is clear that something had happened. Shell casings are everywhere. There's the torn screen door just as described. Windows are shattered from the inside out. And inside, the family is pale and visibly shaken. Their story doesn't change, not once. And here's the thing, none of them were drinking. They didn't want attention. They didn't even call the newspapers. One of the officers later described the family as not the kind of people who would stage something like this. Still, the town isn't sure what to believe. Reporters catch wind of the story and the headlines do the rest. Invasion by little green men, Kentucky family terrorized by space creatures. Never mind that the Suttons never said that they were green. They said silver or shiny. But the phrase little green men sticks, and the ridicule follows. In the coming weeks and months, people showed up in cars, some bringing cameras, others bringing guns. The family starts charging 50 cents a head for people to walk around the property in hopes of deterring visitors. But it's no use. It just creates more harassment. Now they're called liars, con artists, delusional. Until one by one, the family move away. But the Air Force, they take it seriously. Under Project Blue Book, the Kelly-Hopkins case is classified as unidentified. It becomes one of the most cited close encounter incidents in history. Multiple witnesses with no drugs or alcohol involved. Just raw, consistent testimony, and a family with nothing to gain. And that strange detail, the way the creatures seemed immune to bullets, it starts showing up in other reports from other places across many years. So what did the family see? Was it all just a product of hallucination, mass panic, or maybe a misidentified owl or monkey mixed with a long hot day and exhaustion? That's what skeptics say, at least. But why or how would 11 people with such detailed reporting see the same thing and risk their credibility, their livelihoods, for a story that only brought them pain? Maybe what happened on that Kentucky farm wasn't just about what came down from the sky. Maybe it was about what the sky was trying to tell us all along. That sometimes the unexplainable doesn't knock on your door, it just steps through. That's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed this tale, please remember to like and subscribe. Until next time, keep a lookout and keep an eye on the sky, because legends may live